On April 2nd, 2026, Bola Ahmed Tinubu landed in Jos. He had come to console families who had just buried 28 people unalived in a Palm Sunday attack on their community. But he never left the airport. He told them he had only 10 minutes to spend with them. And then he made them a promise. I promise you that this experience will not repeat itself. In the days that followed, dozens more Nigerians were unalived. So today, we ask the question Nigerians have been asking for nearly 3 years. When this president promised that security would be his administration's top priority, what exactly did that promise mean? And can the Nigerian state still protect its own people? Let's begin with what happened in just the last 2 weeks. On Palm Sunday, March 29, 2026, gunmen attacked Angwan Rukuba, a community in Plateau State. According to Channels Television, at least 28 people were unalived and 22 injured. It was around 7:30 in the evening. Many victims had just returned from church services. 4 days later, on April 2nd, President Tinubu flew to Jos for a condolence visit. His aircraft touched down at 4:45 p.m. He met grieving families at the airport and told them this experience will not repeat itself. But by the next day, another attack struck a nearby community, unaliving more residents. Over the Easter weekend, reports from Sahara reporters documented at least 34 people unalive across Benue and southern Kaduna. Some victims were unalive during church services. This was followed by more bad news on April 9th. Then, on April 9th, Nigeria's defense headquarters confirmed a major loss. Brigadier General Oseni Omar was unalived. He was the commanding officer of the 29th Task Force Brigade. He died when ISWAP fighters attacked his military base in Borno State. Several soldiers were unalived alongside him. That is 11 days, one presidential promise. And a death toll that kept rising. To understand why this moment matters, we must go back to where it began. On May 29, 2023, Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood at Eagle Square in Abuja and was sworn in as Nigeria's 16th president. In his inaugural speech, he made one promise clearer than all others. Security would be his administration's top priority. Because in his words, neither prosperity nor justice can prevail amidst insecurity and violence. He promised to reform Nigeria's security system. Better training, better equipment, better pay, and stronger firepower. But he inherited a country already in crisis. The Boko Haram insurgency had been raging for over a decade. Armed bandits were attacking villages in the northwest, and in the Middle Belt, communities were under constant assault. By May 2025, Amnesty International released a damning report. At least 10,217 people had been unalived since Tinubu took office. Benue State alone accounted for nearly 6,900 deaths. Plateau State recorded over 2,600. According to Amnesty's Nigeria director, Isa Sanusi, things had not improved. They had gotten worse. The Nigerian military disputed some of these numbers, but even the National Human Rights Commission reported a significant rise. So while the exact figures may be debated, the trend is not. Then came 2026, a turning point. On February 3, 2026, hundreds of armed militants attacked two villages in Kwara State near the border with Benin Republic. The villages, Waro and Numa, were surrounded. Escape routes were blocked. The attackers went door to door. By the end of the night, at least 170 people were dead. 38 others were abducted. According to international analysts, it was the deadliest jihadist attack in Nigeria in nearly a decade. Just weeks later, another shocking statistic emerged. In the first 20 days of February alone, at least 323 people were unalived. That is roughly 16 deaths per day. At the same time, Nigeria began losing senior military commanders. In November 2025, Brigadier General Musa Uba was ambushed, captured, and later unalived. 5 months later, another Brigadier General. So how does the government explain this? The Tinubu administration argues that progress is being made. Information Minister Mohammed Idris points to increased international cooperation and partnerships with the US, EU, and UK. On December 25, 2025, U.S. Africa Command reportedly carried out its first ever military strikes on Nigerian soil. By early 2026, U.S. military advisors had begun deploying to Nigeria. Military operations like Hadin Kai were also launched. Plans were announced to install 5,000 AI-powered security cameras in Plateau State. The government's argument is simple: the work is being done. But critics are not convinced. Amnesty says the rising death toll shows no strategy. Former VP Atiku Abubakar called the promises hollow. A coalition of 52 civil society groups issued a warning. Nigeria, they said, is on the brink of collapse. Both sides are telling two versions of the same story. The government points to action, critics point to outcomes. And for ordinary Nigerians, the reality is immediate. Over 500,000 people are internally displaced. Even IDP camps are no longer safe. School children are increasingly targeted. In late 2025, hundreds of students were adopted in separate attacks across northern states. Meanwhile, food insecurity is rising. Farmlands are abandoned. The cost of living continues to climb. This is the Nigeria heading into the 2027 election scheduled for January 16th. What happens next will determine everything. Will the killings stop? Two statements, one president. Between them, thousands of deaths and destroyed communities. And a nation asking one question, can the Nigerian state still protect its people? The reality is in front of you. What remains is the question Nigerians will answer at the ballot box. So, has anything changed?